The first time the alien war beacon screamed, I was elbow deep in a dead engine, and I remember thinking the universe had finally decided to answer me back. The sound wasn't loud. It was inside, a low vibration that rattled bone and memory, crawling up my spine as if something ancient had just spoken my name. Around me, station Kepri froze. Lights dimmed, gravity hiccuped, and somewhere deep below the hangar decks, something that had been chained for centuries woke up. None of us understood what that meant yet, but we were about to. My name is Elias Rourke. I fix things no one else wants to touch. Obsolete jump cores, outlawed AI housings, alien tech salvaged from wars humanity officially denies ever happened. Kepri Station sits on the edge of civilized space, a rusting cathedral of forgotten empires and cheap labor. It's where broken people come to disappear. I came because I didn't know how to stop running. But that was only the beginning. The screams came again as I sealed the engine casing, and this time the station alarms joined in, red lights slicing through the gloom. A lockdown order flashed in 6 languages. One of them wasn't meant for humans. That should have scared me. It didn't. Curiosity has always been my worst flaw. So when I saw armed overseers flooding toward the lower containment decks, I followed the opposite direction, toward the cages, toward the thing they were afraid of. Containment Deck 9 smelled like ozone and blood. The air shimmered with suppression fields, each one humming with enough power to flatten a dropship. At the center was the largest cage I'd ever seen, black alloy, etched with runes that made my eyes ache. Inside it paced a creature that moved like liquid violence, for meters long, muscle layered over muscle, golden eyes burning with a kind of intelligence that made my chest tighten. A feline predator, alien, ancient, enslaved, and it was staring directly at me. What I felt then wasn't fear. It was recognition. The data slate on the cage read, Subject, Cthar. Designation, War Asset. Status, Bound. War Asset, like it was a weapon, not a living thing. Its tail lashed, claws scraping sparks on the floor, and suddenly I understood the screams weren't alarms. They were a warning, and Cthar was listening. I should have run. Instead, I knelt. I know what it's like. I whispered through the field, not sure why. Being owned. Cthar's pupils narrowed. The suppression field flickered. Somewhere above us, something exploded. The station shook, and the cage lock, a relic system I'd serviced a dozen times, glitched for half a second. That was all it took. I reached out and pulled the manual override. What I saw next changed everything. The field collapsed with a thunderclap. Cthar didn't attack. It stepped forward slowly, each movement deliberate, heavy with restrained power. Its massive head lowered until its breath washed over me, hot and electric. In my mind, a voice, not words, but meaning, uncoiled like a blade. Freedom has a cost, little maker. I swallowed and nodded, because somewhere deep down, I already knew that. We didn't escape. We erupted. Cthar tore through Deck 9 like a god unleashed, overseers scattering like insects. But it never turned on me. It guarded me, shielded me with its body as plasma fire scorched the walls. Together we reached an emergency shuttle bay, alarms howling, station integrity failing. And just as the blast doors sealed behind us, the war beacon screamed a third time, louder, closer. Not from the station, from space itself. That's when the sky opened. A structure the size of a moon phased into existence above Kepri. Angular, impossible, carved from light and shadow. The War Guardian. Humanity's oldest nightmare and greatest myth. A living construct designed by an extinct civilization to choose champion for wars that decide the fate of galaxies. It hadn't appeared in over 1,000 years. And now it was here. For us. None of us were prepared for the truth. The Guardian's voice rolled through vacuum and mind alike. The trial has begun. Every ship in range lost power. Every soul felt it. And in that moment, I realized the screams hadn't been warnings at all. They'd been invitations. Kthar stiffened beside me, head snapping toward the Guardian. In its eyes, I saw something I hadn't expected. Fear. I was bound to prevent this. Its voice echoed in my thoughts. My enslavement was the lock. The twist hit me like a punch to the gut. Kthar wasn't a weapon. It was a warden, and I had just opened the door. The Guardian projected visions into my mind. Worlds burning, civilizations collapsing, champions rising and falling like sparks in a storm. It didn't care about good or evil, only resilience, choice, sacrifice, and then it did the unthinkable. It ignored Kthar. It looked at me. Human Elias Rourke, it intoned. You freed the Guardian of War. You will take its place. I laughed. I cried. I begged. None of it mattered. The Guardian's logic was absolute. Kthar had been bound to keep the Guardian dormant until a species produced someone willing to free a monster out of compassion rather than ambition. Someone who chose empathy over survival. That was the test. And I had passed. But at what cost? They took me aboard. Inside the Guardian, time fractured. Memories were stripped bare. My failures. My fears. The night I ran instead of staying. The people I couldn't save. Each one became a battlefield. And through it all, Kthar stood with me, not as my jailer, but my judge. And slowly, something shifted between us. Respect, trust, kinship forged in fire. At my lowest point, when the trials demanded I sacrifice Kthar to prove my worth, I refused. I won't be your kind of hero, I said into the endless void. Find someone else. The Guardian paused. For the first time in its existence, it hesitated. That hesitation changed everything. The final revelation came like dawn after an endless night. The Guardian didn't need a warrior. It needed a caretaker. Someone to end the cycle. To stand between endless war and fragile life. By refusing, I had become what it could never calculate. And so the Guardian broke itself apart, dissolving into light, its purpose fulfilled at last. Kthar was free. So was I. We returned to a quieter galaxy. Still broken, still dangerous, but no longer trapped in an endless trial. Kthar chose to stay with me, not as a weapon, not as a guardian, but as a friend. Together, we travel now, fixing what can be fixed, freeing what should never have been bound. And sometimes, when the stars are quiet, I can still hear the echo of that first scream. It reminds me that the bravest thing a human can do is choose mercy when the universe demands war.